That, so if you could take your seats. Awesome. I'm Yvette Gavin with Yvette Gavin Consulting, where we do leadership training and personal development coaching. It is my honor today to be your moderator for this session on growing your business by using effective marketing and branding. So at this time, I would like for you to help me welcome to the stage three amazing women who are running their own business and who are here to share their knowledge, their wisdom with each of us as we grow our business. So at this time, I would like to call to the stage Char Ross. Thank you. Courtney Herring. Thank you. And last but not least, Carissa. You don't get me. Clarissa, thank you, Sparks. You know I know. Sorry. That's what we call the little nurse when we get started. So thank you, ladies, for being here. So my first question is a three-part question. And I'm going to ask this of each of you. We're going to start with you, Char. And I will repeat the three parts if I need to, right? So don't worry about that, ladies. The question or questions is this. What business are you in, if you would share that with us? How do you deliver your value? And how do you do it differently from your competition?
Well, my business focuses on helping customers to create their corporate identity. And that really focuses on the visual aspect of your image branding. So that deals with your logo design, your marketing collateral, your website, your corporate apparel, and all of your event branding needs. What makes me different from other companies is that we are a one-stop, one-source marketing house. So when you come to us with your brand ideas and your brand strategy, then we go ahead and create the logos for you, all of the different graphic design elements that you need. And lastly, we go ahead and provide the physical products. So you don't have to run around to a graphic artist to get something done and then go to the screen printer versus the paper printer or the printer to do the large format branding items for you or your promotional products. We do all of that in a one-stop shop.
Awesome. Thank you. So, Carissa, got it right. Will you tell us what business you're in? How do you deliver value? And how do you do it differently from your competition?
My name of my organization is the She Sparks Agency. We are a boutique firm where we start with clarity, strategy, and design. And what makes me different is we start with women and we lead with purpose. And we do that through a transformational process. And I don't think my mic is on. I'm getting all kind of keys out here. I don't know how to turn it. Oh, there it is. All right. Am I too close? Can you hear me now?
Yeah. I think they lost me.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll speak up. What makes me different, we start with women and we lead with purpose, and we take you through a transformational process so that you're clear in your messaging so that when you go out and work with your artists or your designers, you have a clear understanding of what you have to offer and who you're offering it to. So again, making sure that you're clear, so if you're multi-passionate, helping you to define those ideas. So we take you through a very strategic process, which you learn about the essence of your business, and then we take you through the brand interactions, which are how you identify with your targeted audience.
Awesome. Thank you. So, Ms. Courtney.
So I'm the founder of the Champ Media Agency, where we partner with purpose-driven business leaders and organizations to help them clarify their messaging and create effective digital marketing strategies using paid social media like Facebook ads and Instagram ads to get more leads and sales. And so what makes us different is that we go into businesses and we partner with them to help them create a system, right? And I don't know if a lot of you have heard of sales funnels or marketing funnels, but that's what we really specialize in. And what the purpose of that is to help customers or help prospects turn prospects from strangers into buyers and eventually into raving fans and evangelists. And we help you do that seamlessly through landing pages and, again, funnels that just really move them through that customer journey, because every customer has to take a journey.
Yes, for sure. So today we're talking about how to grow your business with marketing and branding. And one of the things that I have noticed is that oftentimes business owners are a little confused where it comes to what is marketing, what is advertising, and what is actual branding, and how do they differ, or if they do differ. So I want to talk a little bit about branding, and I'd like to start by showing it by example. So ladies, let's share with the audience what your brand is. So if we could start with you, Carissa, what is your brand?
For us, again, we lead with purpose. So making sure that we are clear in our messaging. I make sure that my visual aesthetics are proper within their tones. What does it mean to me? So I think the brand is who you are. So I try to infuse my personality and my strengths and my value into my business model, starting with the vision, the mission, leading with values, and coming up with the brand essence. And that is the core of my organization, and that's how I like to help women with their businesses, making sure that they're clear on those components.
Excellent. Good deal. Courtney.
So my brand really specializes in partnering, again, with purpose-driven business leaders. So organizations and businesses who really have strong vision and values, and they really want to impact the lives of people, and they want to do it positively. So every time I chat with a client, I tell them, listen, what we do is we partner with businesses who mirror our values, because I think that you have to be clear on what you value in order to really, again, make an impact on other people's businesses. And so to answer your question about branding and what I think branding is, I believe that branding is your promise to the marketplace. Branding is not just a logo, and it's not just, putting a brand palette or pretty colors together, but it is really understanding, as Clarissa was saying, who you are and what you bring to the market and how you solve problems. And so your brand is something that people speak about when you're not in the room.
I like that. Yes.
And I 100% agree with my co-panelist here. One of the things that I've learned is that branding is really, at the end of the day, about one thing. It's about revenue. Because if you're not out there making money, then you're not really in business. You just really have a hobby. So as you go through your brand or branding, one of the main things you want to be focusing on is creating brand equity. And we all intuitively know what that means because we all have our special brands. Some of us will only drink Folgers coffee. Some of us will only drink Maxwell House. We know the difference between going to Chick-fil-A versus going to another convenient food type restaurant. Chick-fil-A has a very, very distinct brand. They have invested a lot into making sure that people know that they're a Christian organization, that when you walk in the door, the level of service that you're getting is going to be totally different. The type of food that you receive from them is very much set apart from other type of convenient food restaurants. So Chick-fil-A is a really, really good example of branding and what brand equity is. So it's not just about the cow. The cow is just the visual image that we relate to when we think about Chick-fil-A, but ultimately their brand is that internal customer service and the quality of their food.
Excellent. So I was recently, I wrote an article for Black Enterprise, and the article is all about branding, which is why I have all these questions about branding starting off at the top, but we'll go and talk more about social media in a second. But I want to get your feedback on this thought, Carissa. So when I was interviewing, one of the things that surfaced up frequently in the people that I was interviewing for the article is this one point. And that is that women entrepreneurs were struggling in identifying or selecting a target audience, who their target customer was. And so part of that, as we were developing the story, was trying to help people understand that is something that is essential. If you're going to build a brand, you got to know who you're targeting. So my question to you is, why do you think, as women entrepreneurs, we struggle? Because I struggle with that myself, to be honest. In the beginning, why do we struggle identifying who our target customer or client is, and how does that relate back to how we go to market from a social media perspective?
A lot of my clients, they are multi-passionate, and again, because we start with women, we are natural givers. And we want to be everything to everyone. But it doesn't work when you're trying to brand. You have to actually have a focus and a clear understanding. And I tell people, you can have it all. You just have to have a strategy for it and making sure that you're specializing in what works for you and identifying who that matches your value systems or how you align within the market. So again, you can't be everything to everyone. So again, when you're starting to analyze and to identify your target market, it is very important to say, okay, what is connecting me with that particular member of my community or my tribe? So you have to do an analysis and just say, what sets you apart so that you can speak to your targeted audience, and you can't be everything to everyone. And that's why it's so important to have the clarity and the focus on what you're offering. And by doing it, again, you can't be everything to everyone, to find that clear focus on who you're servicing.
And just to add to that, I think that, you know, in order to find your target market and to speak clearly to them, you know, you have to have a clear message, right? And you have to know what problem you're solving. But I think a lot of entrepreneurs fall short with identifying who their target market is because they only want to identify the demographics, right? You know, the gender, the age, where they live, income. But I think what's also crucial is understanding the psychographics, meaning, you know, how your customers think, what values they hold, you know, to Clarissa's point. And, you know, what political affiliations they may have. And, you know, so it's important to understand, you know, those two things in tandem, because if you separate them, then you're only going to be speaking, your message is not going to be as targeted as it could be.
So Char, I know when we were talking earlier before the session started, you were talking about how important it is to start with that strategy piece first before customers were actually coming to you. Would you elaborate a little bit more on why that's essential?
Yeah, I think that if you know who you are, first of all, and you don't, even though you can be all things to everybody, who are you at your core? There is a 1 to 10 scale, and I think that in everything that we do in business, we need to look at that scale and figure out, are we at the 1, are we at the 10, and are we in the middle? So even though you can do all things, your strategy needs to be focused on where you are from the 7 to the 10, maybe going to the 6 and the 5, but where is your real strength in what you're doing? And so then you focus on that, and I think that's where Clarissa comes in, is because she works with you on the brand clarity. So she's going to sit down with you and she's going to go through all of those different nuances that you are looking at and thinking of for your business and help you just to fine-tune that and to hone in better on how to bring that brand messaging and that brand focus, you know, more clearer.
Right. You know, I start with, where are you now? And where are you trying to go? And so once you have that, your current state leading you into your future state, and you'll be able to identify along the way so that when it is time to do the logo, the website, and the visual identity of your brand, again, you're back at clear messaging because you've already identified where you want to go. So it's about being strategic in action planning and setting goals so that when you go out and commission your graphic designers and your other artists, that again, you're able to clearly communicate and be very concise in what you're wanting. That way you won't continuously spend money. I've already developed the logo. I've already did the website. All of these things won't have to be repeated because now you're clear on what you're offering and who you're offering it to.
So ladies, and you know, as I said earlier, anyone can answer these questions. Okay. I want to make sure that we're leaving everyone with a really clear understanding of how we're saying marketing is different from branding or advertising is different from branding. And then I'll transition.
So I think that branding is all about leaving an impression. And marketing is about inspiring prospects to action.
Yes.
And the two really are, I think they should be married. They complement one another very well. And, but again, if you don't know who you're serving, if you don't know what your message is, then your branding and your marketing, they're going to be off. But that's what I think the difference or the distinction between marketing and branding is.
Piggybacking off of Courtney, they're married. And I think like I said, for a good marriage, you have to have good communication. Yeah. So again, making sure that that they're always connected to each other and making sure that you're crystal clear. And so that when you are ready, you've identified who you are, what you offer, and then you package it in the identity piece, then you can take it to the market. You can put it on social media. You can go out and make sure that you're in the focus area, because again, sometimes we want to show up on Facebook where your targeted audience could very well be on LinkedIn. Again, we want to be everywhere, and I'll take all of these services, but again, if once you horn in on who you are and who you're offering it to, you'll be in the right place at the right time so that you can turn that passion into profit and making sure that you're in the right place.
And I think one of the other differences is that branding touches every single aspect of your business. Yes. How you answer the phone, how you keep your office, what you wear, what you say, how you package, is your parking lot clean. It's all about the brand. You are your brand. When you got up this morning and you went in your closet and you picked out some clothes, that was all about your brand. What you do to your hair, how you carry yourself, your mannerism, all of those things are inclusive of your brand. But even though I do all of those things to solidify my brand, because I know who I am, I know how I want to be represented, I know who I want to be attracted to me. At the end of the day, I still had to go and design that banner that's out there at the table. I still had to get the shirt. I have my fan up here. I'm always having my fan with me. I still have all of these things. Well, these things are all part of my marketing. But they're not my brand. They're not who I am. But if you have a brand but you don't have marketing, marketing gets the word out and it lets people know who you are, and then that gives you visibility and allows you to be more recognizable in the marketplace. Yeah.
It's directing how people feel about you, and as Courtney quoted earlier, it's what people are saying about you when you're not in the room. Right. How does it represent you? If you're not there to give your 30-second, 60-second elevator pitch, will your business card speak for itself? Will your website speak for itself? But do you cringe every time you think someone is going to type in, Google your name? Again, so it's those associations and how you direct how people feel about you and what you're having to offer.
And just to add to that, I think that marketing is so important. Marketing and advertising are so important because you can build your business. But just because you have a website, just because you have a Facebook page, just because you have an Instagram page, does not mean that your customers will come, because there are literally billions of websites out there. Mm-hmm. So how are they going to find you? Marketing and advertising leads them to you.
Right. Yeah. And then when you're building that brand on social media presence, we get excited about the number of likes that we have or the number of fans, but are they converting to dollars? And so you can help convert those likes and turn them into raving fans or brand ambassadors if your message is clear.
And just one flip side to that is that a lot of times you see these people with these great marketing materials, but then you get the worst customer service. Yeah. There's no dependability. That's your brand. So the marketing will get them here, but your brand will keep them with you. And that's really important for you to do both. Don't just be the best kept secret. Go ahead and make sure you get the word out, let people know who you are, but then when the people come in, make sure you can deliver what you promised.
That's good.
And I just want to stress that point because I think it is key. Of all the things that we do is that consistency in the brand messaging. I've seen too frequently where great material is put together, excellent website, and then when you go and try to do that handshake, as you were saying, Char, to have service or to do business with someone, they're not consistent with the brand messaging that you saw like on social media sites. So it's very important to deliver. I heard someone say it this way: if your branding is about excellence, then you better be certain that at every encounter that everything that you do, that is the goal, to deliver excellence.
And Yvette, those are called touch points. So in every single aspect of how you touch a customer, whether it be physical, social media, messaging, billboard, all of your touch points must be consistent. And that kind of goes back to part of what I do and what I specialize in is that corporate identity development. With that corporate identity development, it allows you to have be easily recognizable in the marketplace. It allows you to stand apart from other people, and everything that you put out should have a consistent look and feel to it.
Awesome. So we'll move on. So according to research that was done by the Kaufman Index of Startup Activity, 40% of all new entrepreneurs are women in the United States, which is huge. So ladies, my question is, since we have a surge of women entrepreneurs, what one thing do you feel that these women entrepreneurs need to know immediately as it relates to marketing their business?
I guess my answer is going to be clarity. You definitely need to be clear on, again, what you're offering. And I do believe that if you're clear, if you're strategic, you'll spark. So I think that you should definitely lead with brand clarity.
So what are you seeing in your business as a cause of women not having that clarity when they come to you?
Being multi-passionate, they have so many different ideas. I can do this and I can do that, and not having a clear focus on what can you do well, what have you mastered. And again, we try to be in several different buckets when I think that you should focus and master one bucket at a time. All right.
So could you share, not that I want you to give your services away free, that's not the intent, but just share a little bit about how you start a person on that journey of clarity.
We start with goal setting, and the first question I always ask is, where are you now? Where are you now, and what is working for you and what is not working? And then what is your vision for the future? So I'm always comparing the current state to future state.
Courtney, would you like to add to that?
Sure. I think one thing that I would want to encourage new women entrepreneurs to do is to prioritize marketing in your budget. Because too often I see new women entrepreneurs have the branding in place and have all the collateral and the identity in place, but they have no way of getting that word out. And the budget is sort of upside down, right? And so I think that marketing should take a higher priority. Of course, I'm biased, I'm a marketer. But it should take precedent and priority more in business budgets, because again, you can build your business and you can be the best coach, you could be the best graphic designer, you could be the best restaurateur, but will they come? And how will they come? The only way they will come is through marketing and advertising. And you have to get out in front of that. You have to craft your message. You have to promote it to the people who you believe need your solution. And so that's what I would say is prioritize marketing in your budgets, because it'll be the difference between you being, like what Shar said, being the best kept secret to everyone raving about you.
Right. And I often tell my clients, you don't want to be the invisible brand. Oftentimes we're in front of our laptops, we're in our home offices, and we're just building, but again, we have not budgeted to actually advertise and to market. And so you go out and you're not clear, for one, on who your audience is, and you just start throwing money away because you don't have focus. So I say, come from behind the laptop, identify a budget, and then go out and start actually networking and marketing your services to the correct audience.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say KISS, keep it simple, saints. Less is more. You do not have to put I work for a lot of churches. You do not have to put every single Bible, cross, the tomb on every single thing that you do. Just know what your core message is, come up with something that's unique, powerful, distinctive. Unique and distinctive when it comes to your marketing strategy and your corporate identity is very, very important. The purpose of a logo is to give immediate recognition. So again, my thing is keep it simple, saints. Don't put everything on one piece. be willing to invest in doing a small piece really, really well, and then another small piece really, really well, and then before you know it, you can take multiple small pieces and add them together to do a larger thing, but each individual entity should be done with the highest quality and the highest attention to detail.
I agree totally.
So I love what, Courtney, what you said. It was actually one of my questions. So and it was about if you build it, will they come? And so I just heard you say, yeah, they will come, and to some degree. So I'm curious if the other two ladies, do you agree with that? If you build it, will they come?
I kind of halfway. Yes, if you go ahead and build it, you can infuse your ideas into the beginning process of your core. But you have to speak to your audience and see what their need is. And I like to do it by problem, solution, and a benefit. What are you actually offering? What is the problem that you're trying to solve? Who are you solving it for? And what is the benefit for them using your services? So yes, you can build, but again, speak to your audience and ask what they want or what their needs are before you go out and spend a lot of time, money into building a program or offering, and then that's not what they want.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to add to that, like I think that what's beneficial for new entrepreneurs to do is to create an MVP, right? A minimum viable product. And similar to what you were just talking about, Shar, is what's that one thing that you can create that solves a problem for your market, or that you believe solves a problem for your market, that you can create with the least amount of time and the least amount of money and the least amount of effort. Now that sounds lazy, but we should be a little bit lazier in our in our business strategies so that we can test, we can fail fast and succeed faster. So you have to have market buy-in. You have to see if your minimum viable product or service is viable, right? And so if you don't invest everything that you have, to Clarissa's point, then you'll have the leeway to go back to the drawing board and say, you know what, that didn't work when I tested it. Now I can create something else because I have margin, I have budget, I have time, I have resources to do those things.
Can I ask everyone to raise their hands, both hands? Wave at me. You have everything that you need in your hands. Start.
Yeah.
And so, you have everything that you need. And so go out to your MVP and, like I said, build it, master it, because you have it. So before you go out and just continuously spending money, think about what can I produce on my own, with little money, little effort, and then make it work.
And so then, it's just, for me, very amazing sitting up here with these two other ladies, because it's like we just had such good synergy talking beforehand, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. So, but it's all good. So when you first started talking, Clarissa, I thought about my journey, and sometimes you have to be willing to put your big girl pants on and say, is this really working?
Right.
You really have to do that, and that goes back to what you said about the MVP. You have to be able to look at what you're doing and be able to say no, fail. Dr. Samuel Chan wrote a book called Failure, the Womb of Success. So every failure that you have really is a birthplace for you to succeed from. You just have to be tough enough to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and be able to say, wow, that's not working. I'll tell you a quick personal story of mine. Last year, I had a friend saying, well, I can use this service, and I call them out. I can use Canva, I can use Wix, I can do this. So what makes you any different? And so I had to look at what was my real unique selling proposition. And yeah, everyone can go to all these DIY websites to do the stuff. But what I do is I'm able to take that brand identity, that corporate identity, and I'm able to flow it right from one thing to the next thing and keep it seamless, because one of my mentors told me 10, 15 years ago, my job is to make revenue. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. So I'm not supposed to be out there being my attorney or my accountant. Now, in my case, I am the graphic artist, so yeah, I do all of my own graphics, but your job is to be able to generate revenue. So find the resources and find the people, and like we were talking about the budget for the marketing, no, you may not have $5,000, but can you take $50 and put it away until you can get that quality logo, that quality brochure. One of the worst things that you can do for yourself is to go and hand out something that is not of the quality of who you are, because at the end of the day, for all of my solopreneurs out there, and I'm not even talking to the entrepreneurs that have multiple employees, but the one-man shows, you are your brand. So every single thing that you put out, from the content to the social media to the graphics to the paper to your brand name, it is a representation of who you are. So take the time out to look at that and be willing to say, that didn't work, let me do it over, and do it sooner than later.
Yeah. And the way that you do that, the way that you figure out if something is working, is with data. We have to make more data-driven decisions. And I'm an intuitive person. I love going with what I feel and really listening to my gut, but there are times where I have to sit and look at the numbers, you know? Do the numbers make sense? Is the data adding up? Is this really working, like what Shar was saying? And I think that's the benefit of marketing and advertising using social media tools like Facebook and Instagram, because their analytics are so rich and robust, and you're able to say, how many people did I reach, you know? So a lot of people want to advertise, and when you think of advertising, we often default to, you know, television commercials and radio spots and billboards and things like that, but quite honestly, those things are losing efficacy, okay? And so what you can then do is divert your budget to social media marketing, paid social media marketing. And I know that we're going to touch on social media soon, so I don't want to go too deep into this, but you know, what those traditional advertising channels allow you to do is to get eyeballs, right? They can, whenever they sell it to you, they can estimate impressions, but what they can't do is estimate who is going to be looking at that particular collateral, whether it's a billboard or listening to a radio commercial or watching a TV commercial. And so one thing that sets social media advertising apart from all of those traditional channels is that you can look at you can target exactly who it is you are servicing, if you know who that person or those people are, and you can get an understanding of exactly where your money is going, because you're able to see, I reached 15,000 people today, 10,000 of those people clicked on my ad, and 100 people booked consults with me. And so with social media marketing and social media advertising, you're able to see exactly where your money is going as opposed to other traditional advertising methods.
Which is excellent, and I love what you guys are saying, because Bloomberg put out a study recently that said that about 8 out of 10 startup businesses will fail in the first 18 months. I know we typically talk about them not lasting beyond 5, but that's a year and a half basically, right, that most entrepreneurs are starting. So if you see a lot of women coming forth and starting their businesses, I think these are some tools that we're putting out there about marketing, about branding, about using social media that perhaps will help leverage them to stay in business and move forward. So let's move into social media. Okay. So you've already started about the ability to be able to go back and see the analytics and the data, right? Which is one of the reasons why that's very valuable and is reasonable in cost as well.
Absolutely.
So can you expand a little bit more on why, if you're creating a marketing strategy, you want to make sure that you're including social media platforms there?
Quite simply, it's because there are so many people who are logging into social media platforms every single day. So it's where the majority of your target audience could be. And one of the keys in business is to go where your customers are. And using social media, you can do that, because how many times a day, so by a show of hands, raise your hand if you check your Facebook at least 5 times a day. What about Instagram? Same thing? Do you check your Instagram 5 times a day? What about 10 times a day? How many times are you on your phone? Like 20 times a day, right? Like even sometimes more. So you have to go where the people are. And again, with social media marketing, especially on the advertising side, you can literally target not only demographics, not only women between the ages of 25 and 44 who live, within a 25-mile radius of the Atlanta metro area, but you can target their interests. which is another thing that you have to know about your target market. You can target who they follow, right? And so if they follow big influencers like Oprah Winfrey or Iyanla Vanzant or Mark Cuban or Tony Robbins, you can get in front of them with your message by that precise targeting. And so that's the power that social media holds. And not everybody's going to be on the same platform. So that's another thing that I want to emphasize as well. And you mentioned it earlier, Clarissa, is that you don't need to be everywhere in order to reach your target market. So you don't have to be on LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. Choose maybe one or two of those platforms where you know for sure your target market is, and start really promoting yourself and adding value. I think that's another thing about social media, and that's what separates successful businesses or successful marketing campaigns from unsuccessful ones, is that they lead with value. Okay? Because we're only going to give our contact information, we're only going to give our attention to something that adds value to us. So you have to ask yourself, whenever you're creating your social media marketing strategy or a marketing strategy in general, is how am I going to add value to my audience to attract them and to entice them into my world?
Excellent.
And I think that's just very, very important, is that I hear a lot of people, a lot of times they skip the clarity piece, as Clarissa and I talked about, and they just want to come and they want to do the graphic design part. And what they want to do is tell people all about who they are. And I always say to my customers, I say, you need to tell people about what they're looking for. What can you do for them? How can you solve a problem for them? So I just want to emphasize that. Don't just talk about yourself. Talk about what it is people need and what they're looking for.
Right. And when you're on those social platforms, making sure that it matches your brand identity and making sure that your message is very clear. And again, speak to your audience and not just say, I think it's over 147 social media platforms, but we only identify with the top 5. Again, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and maybe Snapchat, depending on who, again, you're targeting. And again, but the messaging is not clear. So again, you have to make sure you're not crossing your personal brand with your business brand.
That's right.
Are you using 2 separate platforms to speak to those audience? Because the same thing that you tell your cousin is not the same thing that you want to tell someone who's going to sign your next contract.
True.
And so your messages have to be different. The copy-paste method doesn't work on all platforms. You don't want to say the same thing on LinkedIn that you're saying to Facebook, again, because people are speaking a different language.
Yeah, and it's a different context. It's like each of these platforms, I like to tell my clients, treat it like a cocktail party, right? So, the party at Twitter has a different feel than the party on Facebook and the party on LinkedIn and the party on Snapchat. So you have to figure out what the context is, because people log into these platforms for very different reasons, and you have to understand what those reasons are in order to really reach them, get their attention, and then convert that attention into real dollars.
One of the interesting things or trends that I'm seeing now is that everyone wants to go live, do video streaming. But again, if their messaging is not clear, their backgrounds are messy, what are you trying to project? What are you trying to convey to your customer and to your audience? Again, you always want to make sure that you're leading with purpose and intention when you're on these various platforms. So,
I love that, because those are pitfalls that you're sharing with us to avoid when we're using these social media platforms, which is really huge. I love what you said about keeping it separate from personal and professional. That's one mistake that I have personally seen others, make, and being very clear. I want to go, I know our time is about to wrap up. So I want to just ask one more question, and this is from the audience.
okay.
Give them a chance. So this is, well, no, it's not directed to anyone, but it says, social media. Can you give an example of how to move the Facebook person into a potential client, and what is the thing you need to do or say?
Could you
I'll read it again.
repeat the last part of the question? I didn't hear that last part.
Oh, the last part is, what is that thing you need to do or say?
Okay.
Basically to make them a paying customer.
To go back to Courtney's point that she made earlier, you have to add value. What are they seeking you out for, and then can you provide them with a solution to their problem? So making sure that you're clear on that conversion. Why are they liking your page? Are you hosting a live forum? What value are you bringing to that customer to say, okay, I'll attract them to my restaurant and to my coaching practice, or to sign up and buy my next book, whatever, again, that product or service that you're offering, making sure that you provide an actual solution for your client.
So what we do with our clients, whenever we work with them with their social media strategy or their paid social media strategy, is first figuring out, just taking a step back before you even approach social media, is understanding what your sales process is. Because if your sales process is not smooth, and if you're not able to convert that attention into a customer, then it doesn't matter what platform you use. It doesn't matter what strategy you're trying to use. It's not going to work. So make sure that you have your sales process in place. Now, that's going to look different depending on what kind of business that you have. So if you're a service provider, then your sales process should include some sort of consultation, and then some sort of call to action, right? And so what we do for our clients is we make sure that on social media, because it's so noisy, let's talk about just how crowded social media is. I mean, if you check your Facebook now versus 10 minutes from now, you can see a totally different content, right? So you have to understand you have to make sure that you stand out in some way. And what we help our clients do is create Facebook-friendly, Instagram-friendly offers. Because if your offer or your value add is not compelling, then people are going to scroll right on by, okay? So the number one thing is making sure that you have a compelling offer. The second thing is making sure that you have a marketing and sales funnel. So whenever you lead someone off of the Facebook platform, where do they go? Right. Do they go to a scheduling page to get on your calendar? Do they go to a landing page where they are asked to take one specific action? Do they go to your website? So what is it that follows that Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn or Twitter post or what have you? And then again, making sure that you have a way, a system, and it doesn't have to be a convoluted, it could be very simple system to get them from giving you their attention to giving you their dollars.
Mm-hmm. And just real quickly in closing, that, and Courtney already said it, is that a lot of people use social media as their website. Social media is wonderful. We can't live without it. You must be on social media in order to really grow your business. But one of the things that you have to also be aware of is that you don't own your social media platform.
That's right. That's so right.
You must have a website. If it is a one-page landing page, if it's a full-blown website, you need to have your own website, because then you can go ahead and control your intellectual property. At that point, you can do so many other things in converting that lead from social media into a real tangible client. So just make sure that even though you're on social media, you still invest in having your own independent website where you're controlling the content and the data. And I would be negligent not to say, make sure your social media platform and your website all are branded with your own corporate identity. Don't just go get some random stock photo and put it at the top of your social media or your website. That is where partnering with somebody who can do that corporate identity for you and give you that consistent look and feel from the print to the social media to the website becomes really, really important, because you have to allow people to be able to quickly identify you from a visual standpoint, because we're all operating in a very, very crowded marketplace.
And to quickly just add to that, it's important to have an email list. Email lists are invaluable because, as Shar was saying, you don't want to build a house on rented land. You do not own Facebook, you do not own Instagram, and those platforms are ever changing and evolving. They change every single day. And so what you want to make sure is that you have a way to collect customer data so that you can get in contact with them again, you know? You want a way for them to say yes to you and say, yes, you can continue to contact me, because 9 times out of 10, they're not going to buy from you at the first touch point. Right. That's why you need multiple touch points. And that's why it's very important to have an email list that you nurture, because it's a relationship. You don't ask someone to marry you on the first date. Wow. And so you can't expect your marketing to do the same thing, convert someone to a customer the very first time that they encounter you.
Excellent. Well, ladies, I want to thank all three of you. It's like excellent information and content. Will you guys join me in thanking them?
All right, so we are going to leave this room and go back to the ballroom for lunch, but I wanted to add one component here to that marketing piece, which I'm sure Barry would appreciate this. Content, if you're not good at writing and you're not good at the English language, and all you functionally illiterate folks out there, hire a content writer. Because that confuses people about your message and what you're trying to say. And the reason I said that, because I was reading some of the comments, and I'm like, okay, that dangling participle in that subject, I don't know, just all over the place. So head on out to the ballroom, and we will enjoy lunch, and then we will hear from Terry Dennison, who is the district director for the SBA. And thank you guys, and then we'll come back in here for our other panel.
Excellent. Great job. Good job, guys. Thank you. Good job. Great job.